just for the record, we've talked about this. I'll just repeat once again, just in case. In wait, we have an Atari in the lower left and one more in the upper right. They look like both their Ataris, but they're not the same. Lower left, the Atari doesn't change anything, and if white captures, black remains strong and white remains strong. Nothing changes, just one stone is captured. In the upper right, when the stone is captured, white becomes so much stronger and black becomes weaker, and vice versa. If black connects, now black is strong and white is weakened. So that Atari is important and we want to connect it. And for example, another Joseki that you don't need to remember, but I'm just going to play it out. Start point, approach, this one, attach, this, and Atari. And of course, if white now ignores this Atari and plays somewhere else, black will take, and this will devastate the whole corner. Now black gets the entire corner, and that's it. White is completely ruined. So of course, white doesn't have any choice here. With such Ataris, there is no choice. You need to connect. And whatever happens, you need to connect that stone. And then black will connect, and white will connect, and that's the continuation of the sequence. You cannot allow your opponent to capture such stones, because it's still one stone, but capturing that one stone will completely demolish everything around. That's unacceptable. So now with this knowledge, let's go to the game and take a look at some Ataris in the game. So let's see. You're black, and first of all, there's this thing happening. And before we even talk about Ataris, this thing is, I'm sure you've heard that cutting a one-space jump. One-space jump is a beautiful shape, and cutting it is not a good idea. And yet your opponent tries exactly that. He tries to cut your one-space jump. And the question is, what to do? I'm guessing you don't remember what you did, so what would you do now? How to punish this? This can't be right, so we need to punish this.
Yeah. Q7.
Okay, let's. I'm gonna mark with 1, so Q7. Do you think white will connect?
I would think so.
Yeah, because that's one stone. If white lets you capture it, then it's all for nothing. You'll get a Panuki and become incredibly strong. So of course white has to play 2. Yes. And what next? You have 2 cutting points now. Which one to connect? Which one is more important?
I think R7.
Why? Why not P7?
If I do P7, I'm going to give up that stone at R6.
Okay. So what happens
And
if you play R7 and your opponent cuts at P7? So let's suppose you connect 3, 4.
well, then he's got to run.
Right. Okay, let's play it with the stone. So Atari, white connects, connect, white cuts.
Okay. O7.
Oh,
No, you can't do it.
yeah,
O6.
oh, 6. Oh, run with this stone?
Yeah.
But then white plays here and covers your 3 stones. And now, are you sure they can save? Are you sure
Yeah, I
they
don't
can
think
run
so.
away? So that's the thing. Yeah, you don't need to save every single thing, right? With this, the punishment is already here. The punishment is that, look, before white plays the wedge, white's A stone is feeling good. It's attacking you. So white played this A to pincer you, to attack you from the other side.
Right.
White could have easily done something as simple as this and allow you to play there, but white didn't do that. White played here to attack you. And now look what's happening. If white wedges and we play the sequence, tan tan tan, and now look at that A stone. It's hurt. By this connection, you're damaging it. And if white cuts, you don't need to invent anything crazy. Just go out. Not even need to play Atari. Don't need like to strengthen white. Just play here. This way the A stone that was attacking you a minute ago is now completely broken. It's cut off and it's dead. White is not going to save it. And what's more, white now needs to capture your stone. And that's already, it seems like you captured one stone and white captured one stone. But actually, this is punishment enough. Because white is not getting all of this. You can easily now play something over here, and take those points away. So white is not getting those points, not so easily. And white already lost the R8 stone. So that's the punishment. You could also Atari from the other side. For example, do this one. White would go this way, and now you're this way you're damaging the other stone, the corner stone. And then, for example, connect. And if white cuts, okay, Atari, this is also threatening to capture. And now, ladder. And you're getting the entire corner. This might be even better as punishment, right? White is getting a little something on the right side, but you're getting the entire corner. Like here, the corner was white's. And then we play that one sequence, just one sequence, and now you get the entire corner. So many points, and you capture one stone. This might be even better. So that's the whole punishment. You Atari, and you damage one of the stones that's on both sides. So either you Atari from here and you damage the cornerstone, or you Atari from here and you damage the other stone. Both of these are fine. In the game, you played this connection, and that was the wrong connection. We just talked about which connection to do, and you're right. This one is not as good because white could now cut. And now you only get 3 stones, but white will get a lot of points with your captured stone at R6. Lucky, white didn't do this. In the game, white played here and then here and allowed you to connect. And you did that. Very good. But it would have been better to connect here right away, because that's a more important connection. So I just wanted to, I'm spending so much time on this because this is a very common misconception. So many people attempt this cut the one space jump thing, and I want to show you why it's wrong, and how to punish it. Because this might not seem like punishment to you, but it is punishment enough. And if that doesn't seem like punishment, you can, in this situation, you could think of both. Should I cut at 1 or should I cut at 2? Which one should I do? And try to visualize, okay, I'm going to cut at 2, then connect, and I'm going to damage the corner. Or I'm going to cut at 1, connect, and damage the other stone. And both of those should be fine for black. White is getting unnecessarily damaged. If white hadn't done this, like for example, if white doesn't do it but just plays here, see, so much easier for white. White just protects the corner. That stone at R8 is feeling good. Everybody's happy. But suddenly white plays this crazy looking wedge and everything goes out of control and some of the stones get damaged. So now we do this and check this out. So you play here to capture the stone, okay, and this, And now this and this, Atari, and here it is, right? What next? Do we want to connect?
Actually, no need.
Right, so this black group is already very, very strong, right? What about
Yeah,
what about white? This white group is also pretty
that's
strong, right?
strong.
That's strong. So that group is strong, your group is strong. And that means that, okay, white just played this Atari. Now it's time to play somewhere else. It's time to, there's a big board out there. Let's find a big move. So what can we play instead? As you might have guessed,
Several.
in the game you played this, yes.
Okay. Um, I think it might be kind of interesting to play down at the bottom and separate those two, the left and the right groups of white stones.
Okay. Okay. For example?
K3.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. K3 is a big move. Yes, for sure, for sure. There are many more just territorially big moves. Like, for example, you can just play, I don't know, enclose the corner, for example.
Sure.
It's never bad. Or approach a corner from here or from here. This one, sure, also an option. What you can also do is, whenever you're thinking what to do next, apart from just the simple territorial options, you always have the aggressive option. Like if there's something on the board that is not quite settled, you can think, maybe before I play for good old territory, maybe I could play a move that will somehow lay some pressure on my opponent, threaten some of their stones. And
Okay, what about,
there are some stones that are not quite settled yet.
yes.
It's that silly string of stones that white got because of that weird wedge that they played later, like earlier in the game. So how can we attack them a little bit?
Yeah, what about O4?
Yeah, O4 looks like a very, very good move, yes. So all of those other moves, like for example, this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, that's just plain territory. Just all of them very good. But this one is maybe, even has some jam on top. Not just butter, but also some jam, because this one's not just territory. It's like, it's attacking the three stones. And if white doesn't protect, then you just kill them and you get so many points. So that's usually, out of all the options of plain territorial, this this kind of option is usually the one that stays at the very top. It's your top priority because it's easy money. You're attacking and it could be a lot of profit. Because right now, white needs to somehow magically save those three stones. And the shape is not that beautiful because of white's mistake earlier in the wedge. I don't know. Maybe white is going to do something like this, trying to save it. But then you could play here, here, here. And then, okay, let's say white is alive. But then you just got these stones, this one and this one and this one, for free. You got them for free. Now you can play any... Now you can play any big move you wanted. For example, this one, or any of them. But because you got O3, O4, P3, and P2 absolutely free, your opponent had to respond to that, so why not? Even the second line move. Normally we don't want to do it, but in this case, if it's free, why not? If it's a threat. But okay, we don't have to play the second line. Maybe just ignore and go. Okay. So connection. This is something that can save you a lot of points in the long run, because every time this happens, and this happens in many of your games, and like in this game it will happen several times. every time your group is strong, your opponent is strong, the connection doesn't change anything, so you don't do it. And then this will save you, like this saves you a move, an entire move, and you can spend it on something valuable. This connection is only worth 1 point, but any other move is worth at least 10. So every time you're ignoring the connection and playing something else, you're getting this huge boost in territory. Instead of 1 point,
Okay.
10. Instead of 1 point, 12, 13. Ooh, that's quite a big change.
Okay.
So we got this. All right. Okay. And then look at this. So you'll take here Atari. If you
That's
can,
another.
yeah, if you
That's
can,
another one that doesn't need to be saved.
yeah, because if we imagine that, okay, pass, white takes, you're still strong. The corner is still strong, so no need to, because your shape is so strong, there's no need to take this or to connect this right now. We can easily imagine how you could play anything else, including, by the way, this move that's still there, still unplayed. And then if white takes, all right, we just kill the corner, and that's okay. So white captures 1 stone and pays with the corner for that. Not good for white. And so now we're finally coming to that question of yours, like what happens to the Moyo? What happens if your opponent gets a big framework, and when do you and how do you jump in there? Well, I would say as early as possible, and that means that, for example, if we imagine that white gets another move here, another move here, another move there, another move here, and like fixes the Moyo in every way, well, now it's probably too late. Now the Moyo is complete. It has many stones. There are no holes, no gaps, nothing. And now entering this Moyo is very dangerous, if not to say lethal. It's going to be very dangerous for black, and maybe impossible. So before this happens, before white gets all of those reinforcements, we have to find a moment to invade. Well, for example, right now. Right now, there's still a gap here, and a big gap over here. It's still not closed, and this is the moment when you could still jump in there and with a very high chance, with a very high probability, get away with it. We'll talk about the even earlier invasions in a second, but with this one, so let's try to imagine like what can we possibly do right now instead of this connection, and this is what happened in the game. How can we now try to do something to that Moyo?
About M5.
M5, okay. Okay, so go back, M5. Okay, yeah, okay, sure. Something like this. Absolutely. So that's what I'm saying. Don't be so attached to your stones. I've noticed that in many cases you're feeling a little shy and modest about like disconnecting from your own groups.
Yes.
So, for example, you're feeling that,
yes.
Okay, this is your group, and you're feeling that, okay, your next move has to be like in direct attachment to this group. But if you do that, your moves will always look slow and uninteresting. To make them interesting, you have to make this jump. It's like some famous astronaut, maybe was it Neil Armstrong, who said that if you want to be like an astronaut, you have to not be afraid of losing sight of the Earth. That's kind of the thing here, is that you cannot be afraid of losing sight of your own stones, and making a jump into the unknown is one of those things that you absolutely need to learn to overcome the fear of. So in the game, I think later you will play. Well, actually, let's fast forward to that, because at some point, dun, this happens, and then this is what you do, right? You push which is very safe, and then white extends. You push, extends, and then push this, dun 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 dun, and then finally white closes and the moyo is basically complete. So instead of this pushing, which is simple, solid, safe, but uninteresting, yes, something like M5 that you suggested, or was it M4? M5.
M5.
Yeah, so something like this.
Any of those.
Yeah, you're jumping away from your stones, but how can white break this connection? Because you have, in the future, you have a jump at A, or a jump at B, or a jump at C, or a jump at D inside that moyo. So it's very difficult for white to control this stone. Not to mention that you have a jump at E, which threatens the corner. So dangerous. White is not going to be able, with just this one stone, to stop you from entering this. Impossible. So yeah, don't be afraid of jumping in. Of course, that doesn't mean that you have to jump all the way in. If right now you jump something like this, which is completely ignoring any stones you already have on the board and just going all the way into this white treasure trove, that's maybe a little bit too much and a little bit too far. This is where white is the strongest, and clearly it's not going to be easy to escape out of there. This is not easy at all, because white has too many stones around. White has all of that strength and all of these stones. So this is the one extreme. This is the other. This is too safe. This is too unsafe. So then we need to choose something which is kind of borderline between these, and play something which is still relatively safe. Something like this, which is threatening to still go inside, and also threatening to connect here and connect here. So it's a move that's threatening to go in many directions. And this is how you try to do any invasion. You try to make a move which has several directions to develop. You just look, okay, where can the stone go next? You can go left, you can go up, you can go right, you can go down. Okay, that's a very nice point. But when you move, you play it and it has only one direction, that's typically not a very good thing. It's dangerous.
Okay.
So try to aim for many directions. That's the best advice maybe I could give you with invasions. The more directions you have, the less likely your stone will get captured. So, and even here, for example, white plays here, but you don't have to attach like this. You can keep going. Like white playing at M4 doesn't mean that you have to play this one or this one, even though you can, to still threaten the corner. But why not keep going? Let's say we just jump in. White's moyo is the biggest thing on this board, so we just ignore M4. White didn't stop you, so let's go. And that is another maybe the most valuable thing or one of the most valuable skills in Go, in like top 3 best skills in Go, is to be able to ignore what your opponent is doing. Your opponent is playing here, but you need to be able to look at that move critically, see that you don't like that move, and you would much prefer to play somewhere else, and play somewhere else. It's very tempting, I know, to look at the move and think, oh, that's an important place. I need to respond there. But very often there's going to be a move that's bigger somewhere else. So white is playing M4 and kind of tempting you to respond locally, to respond with this one, and you respond, and then this happens, and you respond, and this happens, and then you respond, and this happens, and you play second line. Why second line? And this happens, and then you play first line. What? First line? No. And then white plays here, and then again, you're thinking, oh, white played here, so I need to play something. So you respond. All of these things are not necessary because you're just following your opponent. But the minute you stop following your opponent and start like saying, wait, this move is not so important. I bet I can come up with something better than that. And that's the minute your opponent starts losing. Because he makes a slow move, you say, nope, not interesting. You ignore it and go somewhere else. It's kind of connected with the thing that we talked about at the beginning, of like, you see the Atari that doesn't do anything, you ignore it, and you go somewhere else. And in the same way, you see a move that doesn't do anything, and you think, oh, I can come up with something better than that somewhere else. You go and do something else. So that's how you become stronger and stronger in Go. You learn to ignore your opponent more. I'm not saying ignore all the time, but I'm saying ignore many times. Because all of these moves, they are not really urgent. And for example, instead of this move, instead of playing first line, how about trying to go from the other side? Even if we're playing in this corner, well, let's try and do this one. This one is attacking the corner a lot more severely. Now, I'm not even sure white can live. This move is suddenly leaving white with very little space. This move doesn't do that. It's first line. It doesn't change anything. First line is never played in any stage of the game until very late end game. So this one, and white plays here, and you do this one. Look at this. White is struggling. Here. White is maybe barely alive. I don't know. I'm not even sure white is alive here. Very small space. So that's how you make an invasion. You don't make an invasion because you're too busy following your opponent. But when you decide not to follow and just say, you know what? This move, and the entire sequence of moves here also, right? You respond to this one, and then white plays here, you respond to this one, white plays here, you respond, white plays here. Okay, it looks like this move clearly doesn't require a response, and yet you respond. Second line, this is definitely not the biggest, right? So that's how you lose the chance to invade, because while the invasion is there, and you could play somewhere here, and destroy that area, well, you're too busy responding to your opponent's second line moves. And that's how eventually, not right now, but eventually you will lose that chance to invade, because sooner or later your opponent's going to realize that, oh, I have a big area here. Let me close it, and then he will close it. So before that happens, you need to venture out into this open space and jump inside.
Okay.
Now, final thing is the invasion that I wanted to show you is let's imagine something as simple as, not tired yet? No? Is it okay?
So far.
Okay, so let's imagine something as basic as we're just taking this and this. I don't know, play some simple joseki here. All right. And now let's say we do, I don't know, this one, this joseki we looked at today. Let's say this, and now suddenly, okay, we play something like this, and now white plays boom, big area. But we ignore it, and white plays here. And now the question is, at this point, it feels like all of white's area, all of white's points are on the left. So it might be interesting to do something about that. And if we wait, then at some point white will add another stone, and then another stone, and then another stone, and another stone, and then maybe at some point another stone here, and then it's too late. So before it's too late, before all of that happens, maybe even now, it's okay to go and invade that area and just live there or escape from there. I mean, it's totally fine for black to play anything else. Just play the top side, for example. Why not? It's a big move. But if that area is growing on the left is becoming a little intimidating and a little menacing, then invading there is fine. So where do you think, where would you invade?
I would probably do C14.
Okay, let me mark number C14. Okay, C14. Any more choices?
I'm wondering about not going as deep at E13 or F13.
E13 and F13. Okay. Well, if you do E13 or F13, it's hardly an invasion. We could maybe call this a reduction.
Okay.
Because if you play something like C, for example, this one, then it's easy to imagine how white is not going to try to attack you in a crazy way, but white is probably a lot more likely to play something like this, to just take the points and say, all right, that's a deal. You've reduced me a little bit, so that's not really. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's not, strictly speaking, not an invasion.
Okay.
An invasion is something. It's got to be at least fourth line, and below. So somewhere behind that line. There.
Okay, forget B and C. Let's.
No,
so
I mean,
it could be.
A is a possible move, yes. And I mean, there are actually no wrong answers here. I'm asking you this not like, okay, there's one answer and you have to find it, Bruce. No, there's no one answer. There's multiple answers here, and that's a good thing about this.
I sort of symmetrically could think of C12.
Yeah, absolutely. C12 is possible. Okay, B and C, remove it.
The problem, I'm looking down below, and there are an awful lot of stones, white stones down below already in the lower left.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking an invasion in the upper left would be more successful than one in the lower left.
I agree. It's probably a little easier to invade the upper left, yes, because lower left is a little bit stronger. So yeah, invading there might be a little bit harder. Possible, definitely possible. But why make it hard for yourself if you can make it easier? Okay, so maybe, even though I told you that we're going to look at invasions, but I feel like we've talked about so much today already, and those things were actually quite important, and I want you to try and focus on those. And
okay.
We've talked about invasions, like how not to invade, is in just wait forever until your opponent just reinforces the whole area. Now, I've shown you that you can invade as early as this. When you feel like, okay, my opponent's area is growing, it's already quite big, so why not just jump in there and make a living group, or make a group that will escape out, and that's going to be a good result. Maybe at this point it's not urgent yet. It's not like if you don't invade now, you're going to lose the game. No, but it's possible to already consider an invasion at this point. And you can play around with this position. I'm going to remove the A and D, and I'm going to send it to you as a screenshot. And you can think about it, and then we'll talk about specifically this sort of early invasion and this shape. I know we said that we'll talk about this shape today, but next time maybe we'll start with this.
Okay.
So I'm gonna send it to your Discord, and then we'll talk about it next time. But for now, focus on these two important things. One is whenever an Atari happens, don't connect automatically. Very often, your stones are very strong, your opponent's stones are strong, and the Atari doesn't change anything. And in this case, if you now ignore the Atari, you're getting one move for free. Instead of connecting one stone and getting 1 point, you're getting a stone that is worth so much more than 1 point. And that's an
Yes.
incredible boost to your territory count. That's one.
Yes.
And then try not to fixate on what your opponent is doing. It's easy to
Okay.
follow your opponent around, but you have to think for yourself. And this is how
Okay.
you win games in Go. Your opponent is playing something here, but you're like, no, I think that's not the best. I think if I play over there, that's going to be a lot more interesting. And that's how your opponent starts losing, because he miscalculated, he thought this move was good, but it wasn't. And you played something else. If you always follow around, you never get a good result, because your opponent always determines the flow. It's always your opponent who decides what's going to happen, and you're just following him around and wagging your tail and then just doing
Yes.
the things after him. So don't be like that. Ignore the Ataris whenever you can, and ignore your opponent whenever you can.
Okay.
And those are the two big takeaways from today. Okay.
Good.